So if you're getting started in comedy, these are the things that I would say you should do to really grow your comedy career, your comedy community, all of that. The first thing that you absolutely should do is drop the need to get somewhere in the future. Like drop the need to have a Netflix special in 5 years, all of that stuff. The reason is because if you're doing it for the outcome, if you're doing it because you want a Netflix special, or if you're doing it because you feel like you're trying to get some kind of result or some level of fame or success, that's good to have goals, but it's also all about the climb. It's all about the journey. And so I feel like when I learned that comedy was about having fun doing comedy and like writing, performing, and the process of getting better and the process of like each incremental step getting better and better, it just became more fun for me. It became more realistic and I was able to connect with other comedians better. I think obviously it's good to like have big dreams. Like, of course I want to have a Netflix special. It's just kind of like for your first, second, third year, make it more about getting good at comedy, getting good at your style, finding your voice, things like that are really important. I will also say as a side note to this, just on the point of finding your voice, if somebody's looking to start comedy, I think one thing that in 2025 is really important is being able to tell your own story and find a message that really resonates with people. It doesn't have to be like a big moral message, but like who are you? Who are you? What is your story? What is the thing that makes you special? I just wouldn't go up there and make fun of people for their race or their gender. I think that is getting left behind in 2025. You know, of course there's like really famous comedians in the world who make fun of people for their gender, for their race. But like, I think as an amateur comedian getting started in 2025, you should understand that people resonate with your story. They resonate with your message. And if you just get up and make fun of people as an amateur, it's actually not going to be that funny because you haven't learned how to write jokes. You haven't learned how to like make it funny or ironic, or you haven't learned how to just kind of like weave your way around those topics. So I notice a lot of times if I go to an open mic night, people will just instantly like make fun of a certain race and like they think they're being funny, they think they're being edgy, they think they're being like Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle, but like as an amateur you're just not, you know what I mean? You're just literally not. I would get clear on your perspectives, your story. I guess that could be number 2 and I'll do 4. The next one that I would emphasize for myself if I could tell my 30-year-old self something is essentially just like really focus on the community. Focus on not only making and building a community, but giving back to the community. So I learned over time that by having my podcast, by offering to help people with their shows, by offering to help people make content, I was able to make a lot of really, really, really good friends. I was able to really like grow as a comedian because people started to ask me to come to things or just to hang out. And I noticed myself 3 years later, I'm a funnier person. Like, I'm actually a funnier person than I was 3 years ago. And part of that is because you're surrounded by people who enjoy being funny. You're surrounded by people who are honestly like, you have to be funnier. Like, they're not going to laugh at your standard like jokes. Like, they're not going to laugh at your lame jokes, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? They're going to laugh at things that you say and do, but like, if you are going around trying to be this funny, quacky guy, it's just not going to land with comedians the same way that might land with people at a party. And then, that circles around because maybe it never did land with people at a party. I remember watching a video of a stand-up comedian who was saying like, just because your friends think you're funny doesn't mean you would be good at stand-up comedy. I remember just being like, yeah, well, this guy doesn't seem that funny. I was thinking he must be jaded because he was like this boring kind of guy and he's obviously not funny at parties. I don't remember who it is, but if I found him, I would definitely notice it. But he was really introverted, quiet, and not somebody that would be the life of the party, but maybe was somebody that was good at stand-up comedy. And I remember just being like, well, he's probably just like annoyed that people are really fun at parties and he's not. And so I just kind of took that note and put it aside. But now I realize that being funny at a party is different than being funny on stage because there's a lot that goes into being funny on stage. I do think that making your comedy career about the people and finding people who you're able to connect with and making it about finding friends and community is one of the greatest rewards of starting a comedy career. Everybody says it's so hard to make friends as an adult. I would argue that if you're interested in comedy and you live in a comedy like city, or you live in a performance city, or you live in a place where people love to get on stage, it's one of the easiest ways to make friends because you have a similar interest. You have people who are trying to connect with the world via their comedy. And honestly, like, I find it really easy to make friends in the comedy community. When I was 29, I was in therapy telling him I was lonely. I was telling him, my therapist, that I don't know how to make friends and that I find it difficult. And of course, this was post-pandemic, but like very closely post-pandemic. And I just felt like I didn't know how to make friends. And I was really disappointed in adulthood and like how to make friends in adulthood. And, you know, partially one of the things I realized is that by having comedy friends, you have friends who are following a similar path to you. And actually, a lot of my comedy friends happen to be queer as well. And so it's a similar path. You know what I mean? And so, of course, you can find straight, of course, you can find straight comedy friends. But like, I find that if you can even find comedy friends who have a similar values and similar path, life path, and like similar amount of time free to hang out, you know, like, similarly, like if they don't have kids and you don't have kids, or if they do have kids and you have kids, it can be very rewarding to find friends that way. And then the third thing that I would tell myself at age 30 about starting a comedy career would be to find your own balance of social media and stage time. In comedy, there's people who are really interested in just doing the stage stuff, and basically they don't want to do any social media. I think finding your balance with social media and stage time is going to be a really important piece of your formula. Because are you trying to become an influencer? Are you trying to become a content creator or a touring comedian? Because ultimately, the fact is that it takes both. And I noticed there are people who absolutely hate social media and they absolutely hate posting. And I personally think that it's holding them back. But then I also see people, I'm almost a victim to this. I would say I'm pretty good on stage, but like, I love social media. I'm sitting here making a YouTube video when I could be out on the street playing a song. I love making content. I love making videos. I honestly feel like I could be spending more time on stage and performing a little bit more. However, personally, I find that I'm about a 50-50 split. I love social media and I love going on stage. The other thing is that I'm running a business. So I don't have a day job. I'm not getting off of work at 6 o'clock. I'm spending the day making content, doing my accounting, doing things for my business, and actually going out and doing the business, which is a photo booth business that I do on nights and weekends. My life is all about the internet. I know people who do 3 open mic nights a week, grinding and going and like writing their jokes and formulating their jokes and rewriting their jokes. And for me, I guess I'm more of a performer where I write the songs and then I go out and I improvise and I play with the crowd in between the songs. And that's my style right now. But as I grow and as I learn more, I will continue to perfect the way that I introduce the songs, perfect the way that I go about like interacting with the crowd. But right now I spend a lot of time writing. And that's another tip that I learned. I can't remember who said it on a podcast that I listened to, which is another tip that I would give myself, is just like bang it out with comedy podcasts where comedians talk about comedy, because that ends up being a really great way to learn tips and a really great way to learn like people's work ethic and people's like styles and things like that. You know, some people go out and they do open mic after open mic after open mic. I am actually writing, and one of the tips that I learned on a podcast, and one of the tips that I learned on a podcast from some comedian, I can't remember who it was, but they said that like, yes, you can go do 5 open mics a week or 10 open mics a week or whatever the number of open mics a week you're supposed to do, but you can also spend a lot of time refining your writing and what you're going to say and all of that. So I, as a musical comedian, spend a lot of time writing the music and rewriting the music and wordsmithing. I spend hours a day writing my music, maybe not hours every single day, but I spend 10, 12 hours a week writing music, perfecting music, practicing music. Sorry to my upstairs neighbor. I spend a lot of time playing and writing music. So I would say that number 3 is finding your style with social media, finding your style and balance with going on stage versus posting online, because whatever you choose, don't be resentful. That's what I would say. Whatever you choose, don't be resentful about the other people who are finding success doing it the other way. Just focus on yourself. That's number 5, I guess I should say. Focus on yourself. Don't focus on what other commercials people are getting. Don't focus on what other success people are getting or other shows people are getting. Literally, you are your own comedian. You are your own person. And it just doesn't matter what other people are doing. It just doesn't matter because they're a whole different person. They're a whole different style. And ultimately, like, if you are that similar to other people, you should look inward and find something more special about yourself. Because if you're looking at other people and being like, that should be me, that's taking away energy from you actually getting opportunities. That's actually taking away energy from your aura. It just takes away from your general vibe of positivity and the ability for people to connect with you, because you don't want to be competitive. You don't want people to come at you and be competitive with you. What you put out there will come back to you. If you're competitive with other people, people will be competitive with you in entertainment and general stage times. You want people to want to give you opportunities. You want them to put you on their shows, hire you for certain opportunities, or go on their podcast. If you're competitive and constantly tearing down other people, my opinion is that they're not going to ask you to come on. So that's what I would say to anybody who is looking to get into comedy, to get into starting in comedy. I'm in New York City, but whether you're in New York or LA or anywhere that does comedy, which is anywhere, I really think that some of the best places to do comedy are not in New York and LA. I did a show last year in the Bay Area and I got more laughs than almost ever. Like almost ever. I got more laughs, more engagement. I actually got tips. So it's actually a good thing if you're like not in New York or LA. Anyway, I hope that this video has shown you some type of help, some type of support, something that you can do to get started. The thing is, you do have to just get started. You have to go after it by just going to an open mic night and write something, make it up, whatever you do, just get on stage for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. One of my theories for myself, I'm a pretty normal person, and at open mic nights, there's not a lot of, like, there's 50% of the people are really weird or really like quiet, or just like it's their first time too, or they're just really bad joke writers, or they're trying to be offensive but it's not working. And so my theory is like, no matter what, I could go up and just talk about my day and like I'm gonna be better than 50% of the people. Not because it's better comedy, but just like sometimes the people who go up are just genuinely not funny. So if you believe that you're just generally a kind, uplifting, laughy person, you're gonna be fine. And the thing also is that when you go on stage at an open mic night, everybody's just watching themselves. No one's judging you. Like, nobody cares if you do a bad job. You know what I mean? And open mic nights often are just the other comedians who are there. In shows in the 90s, we would see open mic nights at a bookstore and people would come to the open mic night. And like, that's just not 100% the case. If you are in New York, there's a few open mic nights that I did in my first couple of years. One of them is called Inspired Word, and you can Google that, Inspired Word open mic. They do a really good open mic where there's an audience, you pay, and you get like 8 minutes or 7 minutes, depending on what you're doing. It's a pretty supportive community, and so they were where I started and got some of the chops. And so, and there's some others. So if you follow me on Instagram, I'm at Ben Hawes HQ. I'm posting about open mics. I'm thinking about starting my own open mic, but I am busy. But I'm also going on tour this spring, starting March 9th in LA at the Glendale Room. Then I'm going to the Bay Area on March 13th at Club 1220 in Walnut Creek. Then I'm doing 2 shows at Stonewall on March 20th and March 26th. And then I'm going to Nashville April 18th. I hope you'll come see me on tour. If you want to chat about getting started in comedy, just DM me on Instagram, Ben Hawes HQ. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this. And I hope you have a great day, an even better week. And may we all find the boldness to chase our dreams. Peace.